It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha! Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome one more time, hopefully not the last time, to the Brouhaha. The Brouhaha. You never know, do you, Dale?
No, you don't.
Jamie can pull the plug on at any minute.
No, you just never know in this day and time.
Question for you.
Sure.
In your opinion, right now, what's the biggest name in sports?
The biggest name in sports. Biggest name in sports.
He's thinking, ladies and gentlemen, he's rubbing his head, he's combing his hair, trying to come up with the biggest name in sports today.
Are we talking about United States, a certain state?
We're talking about the world.
The world, the whole world.
I'm going to tell you my view.
Yeah.
Kaylin Clark.
I think that's it.
I see more things written about her and talked about her than anything else.
Yeah, but I think it's slowly going downhill for her, too.
Well, it may be, but...
Because she's 1 in 5.
Yeah. But
you know,
she gets more press than anybody in the world.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
I'm going to tell you what.
Love her to death. I hope she achieves success in the league.
I would say right now she's already taken the league to places it's never been before.
Oh, no doubt.
Look at the attendance.
Well, she got them all a private airplane.
Yeah. I mean...
But
they hate her.
What you call it.
They getting them. I saw a comedian, Bill Burr, do a spot, and he can be kind of rough around the edges. And he did a spot I saw where he was talking about women's basketball. And he said, this has been a year or two ago. He said, y'all are complaining and whining. Nobody comes to your games. That's why they can't pay you nothing. And he was talking about the attendance and everything. Well, guess what? They're coming now because of one person. I don't know. She's got to have had as big an impact on her sport as anybody in the history of sports.
Well, I go back to really Michael Jordan didn't get all this fanfare when he was drafted like 3rd or 4th out of North Carolina by the Bulls. I mean, people knew about him, but he wasn't the savior. There's 2 or 3 guys that went ahead. Two guys went ahead of him, and but she reminds me of the time when the NBA restarted with Bird and Johnson, but it took 2. She is going to have to get somebody as an opponent.
Angel Reese. It's already there.
Angel would be a good one.
Angel's picked it up too in the professional level. She's still not cutting her any slack.
Yeah. But no, I hope she has a lot of success because she comes from you can just see her dad during the ball games and he's trying to tell her something sometime.
Shut up.
Put on your gloves.
Yeah, just shut up and play, man.
Hey, did you hear about Angel Hernandez?
No.
Do you know Angel Hernandez?
Rings a bell?
Well, he is blasted all the time by Major League Baseball players umpiring. He's an umpire.
Yeah.
He retired yesterday.
I'm not going to have him to kick around anymore. You know who said that the first time, don't you?
Who?
Wasn't it Richard Nixon?
He did.
Yeah.
He said, you won't have me
kick around anymore.
You talk about, we're talking about baseball for a minute, but my youngest son went to see the Yankees and the San Diego Padres play Sunday in San Diego, because that's where he lives. And he said that the Yankees have got a ball player named Aaron Judd. And Aaron's about 6'7", 6'8". And he said Aaron got to first base the other day and he was kind of sitting, if the second baseman would throw to the first baseman, he was in that area behind the first baseman. And he said that Aaron Judd said the other first baseman for the Padres barely came up to his chest. I'm thinking, Lord, there's some big humans in this world.
There's some big humans in this world.
And I saw Bill Walton. I saw him in person one time.
God rest his soul.
Yes,
Recently
yeah.
just lost him.
He was 6'11", but he wasn't a mammoth person like a Wilt Chamberlain or a probably a
Shaquille,
Shack,
yeah.
a Shack or something like that. But he was a big, tall fella at 6'11", and I really liked old Walton. He was very humorous on the telecast. You know, you really get to know somebody when they're coming into your living room, talking about basketball games and stuff like that. Now I don't watch a lot of the NBA, but at times I have, and of course Walton also did a lot of college games. I like college game a little bit better than NBA right now.
Well, you like college football better than you like the NFL.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably so. Got more invested in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heart and soul.
Heart and soul.
Heart and soul.
All
baby.
in, baby.
Yes, sir, baby.
Well, listen, what we got going on with our guest tonight?
I don't know.
Okay, well.
Oh, yeah. We do have a guest, right?
I'm asking you.
We got Shawn Bubba Wansley. And feel free to call him Bubba if you want to. Everybody else does. He probably wouldn't answer to Shawn anyway. But anyway, he's the SID down at JC. But
All right.
he's going to talk to us about the college NCAA tournament today. A little, college baseball stuff.
Yeah, he might know a little bit about what's going on out there in Enid, Oklahoma, too.
Well, it didn't go good yesterday.
Well, I'm aware if they playing right, they played again.
Earlier this morning. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We kind of, but anyway.
Yeah.
So I tell you what, let's do. Let's take a break to hear from our sponsor, and then we'll be back with old Bubba Wansley right after this break. See you in a minute, folks.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Shawn Wansley. Shawn, how are you today?
I'm great, Dale. How are you?
I'm doing good. Marshall and I got a lot of questions for the expert here, but we want to talk a little bit about the NCAA bracket. First of all, were there any surprises to you at all?
Well, I guess so. I think you look at Florida at 28 and 27 getting in. That was I don't know if it was a surprise because most people projected them to get in there, but one thing I kind of noticed, I've just been looking at the reaction of everybody. You had 6 teams get in that were kind of considered on the bubble, and all 6 of those teams had their athletic directors on the selection committee, and including Scott Strickland at Florida. So a lot of talk about that, a lot of interesting things to discuss about that. But as far as the general bracket, overall bracket, not terribly surprised. Tennessee, it's pretty obvious they were going to be a number 1. I guess I'm surprised that they sent Southern Miss there. I thought Southern Miss would probably get a better draw than having to go to Tennessee, especially considering they played them last year. But the Golden Eagles get a tough draw right off the bat. And I think they can do well. They're going to play Indiana in their opening game, which is one of the final 4 teams to get in, according to everything I've read. So won't be easy, but Southern Miss will have a shot up there at Tennessee. But Tennessee's number 1 seed in the nation. And I guess Mississippi State going to Virginia, certainly not surprised at that. I know a lot of people thought the Bulldogs would get a host out of this thing, but had a lot of early losses that hurt them, non-conference losses, and had an unreal amount of one-run losses in conference play. But you could have made a case for them going as a host team, but they can't be too displeased going to Virginia. They've won there before in a regional, and they draw St. John's at the opening game, and that's a lot of people don't think of St. John's baseball, but they've made a whole bunch of NCAA tournaments over the years. So see how the Bulldogs fare going to an ACC team.
Yeah, I was like you. I was a little surprised that we kept hearing Mississippi State would maybe host, but once I saw the 16 hosts, they all had great records. I mean, I'm looking out there at people I don't know much about, Santa Barbara, Oregon, And Arizona and all of them, hey, they were very impressive as far as their won-loss records. Now, I know the strength of schedule goes in big, but now you're talking about 3 or 4 of those SEC teams. I think Florida, Alabama, maybe LSU, South Carolina, and somebody else were like 13 and 17 in the conference and made the tournament. And so... of course, now, Ole Miss was the only team that made the SEC tournament that did not make the NCAA tournament because Missouri and Auburn didn't. But, it's kind of strange. Auburn was a regional host last year because isn't that where Southern Miss went to last year and won?
I don't know if they won at Auburn last year, but Auburn, their RPI was really good this year, but terrible record. I mean, you can talk RPI all you want, but you've got to win ball games, and that's the bottom line. Ole Miss, I think, ended up with an RPI maybe inside the top 30, but I don't think you can get invited to the national tournament with a losing overall record, and that's why they didn't go. Of course, if you win your conference tournament, you can go, and I saw Grambling got in at 26-26, and a team out west, I think, got in with a losing record by winning their conference tournament. But there's always a lot of politics in this thing, maybe more so than the NCAA basketball tournament. You just look at those guys that get put on that committee, and the other guys are going to kind of go their way, I think. I know next year, Jeremy McClain, the USM AD, will go on that committee, and that will certainly will not hurt Southern Miss at all. They haven't needed any help. I think they've made 8 straight NCAA tournaments, which is quite an achievement. But there's always teams that's going to fuss about it and about getting left out. And I've seen talk already here in the last couple of days about expanding the field from 64 to 72.
Oh my goodness!
Kind of like that. Like the basketball tournament does, from their 64 to 68, with the final, the first 4, I guess they call it. But I think they're talking about maybe having a play-in game with the bottom 8 and then let them advance on in. But we'll see where that goes. You mentioned LSU. I think they were 3-12 in the conference to start the year, and then just got red hot down the stretch. I think they ended with a 13-17 league record, got to the finals of the tournament, and I don't think North Carolina is very happy to see LSU coming up there as a number 2 seed, because they're obviously very capable of winning that. And you mentioned Alabama. I was kind of surprised that they went in as a 2, especially going to Florida State. That's a region that Alabama's kind of struggled a bit late in the year. I say struggle; they haven't played as well later in the year as they did earlier. And they're matched against Central Florida in the first round, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them do real well in Tallahassee.
Yes, it was surprising to me. Oral Roberts, they did win their conference that they're in. I'm not sure what conference it is, but they have a losing record that you mentioned, and then. The Grambling, Jackson State basically makes a throwing area in the bottom of the 9th inning, and Grambling scores 2 runs, or Jackson State's in the tournament, And of course, I was kind of snickering, the NCAA. I don't know what they're trying to do out there, but they've sent Texas softball and Texas baseball over to A&M for a regional.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They're trying to get them to be friends, I guess. I don't know how all that works. But yeah, like I said, I was a little bit surprised that USM is going to Knoxville because of them being, I thought them winning a conference title and having a decent RIP, and this is their 20th NCAA tournament. Of course, Mississippi State's got 40. And that's quite impressive. But, I think that State may have an easier road. I mean, I don't know between it, but Tennessee's can bash that ball. That's all I know. They can hit that ball. They're 30-3 at home. That's just mind-boggling, that they've only lost 3 games. And one of them was to Ole Miss, if you can believe that. So, Southern got hot at Southern got hot at the right time, I think, toward the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because they won like 14 out of their last 15, but they were playing the lower seeds in the conference.
Yeah.
You know, they played like Arkansas State and Texas State, and you know, those last couple series. And Texas State, although they beat them, it was still that. But if you were, do you think who do you think maybe the top 2 or 3 teams, 4 teams are in this tournament going in?
Well, you know, you got to put Tennessee up there. They've had quite a run the last years. I don't know if they're as strong as they've been, but they've been really, really good the past couple of years in college baseball, and they haven't gotten that title yet, so you'd have to certainly consider them to make a run here. Another SEC team, Arkansas, outstanding pitching staff. That's their deal. They can pitch it really, really well. They're not as strong as other teams when it comes to scoring runs and hitting that baseball, but they can pitch it extremely well. And you know, they're going to have a challenge with Louisiana Tech and Kansas State in that region. But I think you know, they haven't won that Natty yet either, and that's something that they're desperately trying to achieve. And anybody else, you know, North Carolina and LSU to me is going to be a very interesting twosome. North Carolina is probably one of the top teams in the nation, and LSU is very high, and they're used to winning, defending national champion. The environment will not bother them at all, and I think you can look for that series to be really outstanding, and don't be surprised if LSU goes up there and wins. Anybody else, you know, I don't know. You know, Kentucky's had a very good season in baseball, and you know, early in the year when you know, the expectations were not as high for Mississippi State, and people were thinking Chris Lemonis had better win or else this year. The name getting a lot of mention was Nick Mingione, the Kentucky head coach, former longtime Mississippi State assistant. But Lemonis did what he had to do and won a bunch of games and got State into the postseason. So, you know, that didn't come to fruition. But there was, you know, a lot of early talk about Mingione and Mississippi State, but that kind of got put to rest with State making the tournament. So we'll see what happens. It's a tough tournament to win. I mean, the College World Series, I mean, it's, you know, you got your opening regional and double elimination, then you got the best 2 out of 3 super, and then you get to the final 8 in Omaha, and it's basically 2 4-team tournaments up there. And if you win that, you still got to play another 2 out of 3. It's a very difficult tournament to win, and you know, we've had surprising teams win it before. I think Fresno State, who's in this tournament this year, was a 4 seed maybe 10 years ago, and they won the whole thing. So we'll see what happens, but it's always something I look forward to every year.
Hey, didn't Coastal Carolina win it one year also, or somebody?
That's correct.
Unusual.
They were like a 3 or a 4, and they got in it and won the whole thing. So yeah, Coastal Carolina and Fresno State are 2 of the most unlikely winners we've ever seen in the College World Series, and you know, those 2 teams winning gives you know, 3 and 4 seeds hope, I would say.
Well, you know, can you? I mean, I know Mississippi State rebounded this year, Shawn, but can you actually fathom the idea that State wins the national championship one year and then goes terrible the next 2 years maybe? And,
right,
and
2
then,
years.
Then Ole Miss wins it and they go bad 2 years. LSU won it last year, if I'm not mistaken, and they struggled. Like you said, at one time they were 3 and 12. You know, so this college baseball is getting a lot more competitive every year. But what would you say the keys to winning the tournament are, besides great pitching?
Yeah, that's of course that's always going to be the number one thing. I know. You know, I look at Southern Miss. They, you know, known for their pitching. Christian Ostrander, former Jones head baseball coach. That's his forte. does an outstanding job with that pitching staff, and but they've been able to put up some runs, and that makes things a lot easier. Mississippi State, a couple of strong starting pitchers. They've kind of bounced around with that bullpen. Had a couple of injuries there. Their number one guy, Nate Dohm, he missed several weeks this year. He's come back in the last couple of weeks and pitched an inning or two in relief. The biggest issue to me is scoring runs. Their top two hitters, Dakota Jordan and Hunter Hines, from the last 2 or 3 games of the regular season into the first 3 games of the conference tournament, at one point they were a combined 0 for 32. And I don't know how you can win games when your 2 best players, 2 best hitters are 0 for 32. They managed to win a couple of games in the conference, but those 2 guys have got to get it going for State to have a chance. And you get to this time of year in this tournament, it's pitching and timely hitting and just playing a standing defense. Just don't hurt yourself, and we'll see what happens. But it's got to be wide open, I would say. I wouldn't be surprised if you had 10 or 12 teams with a shot to win this thing.
All right, listen. A lot of people might know this and might not know this about you, but you're a graduate of Mississippi State, so I know you've kept up with their sports over the years. Let me just ask you a general question. What is your favorite Mississippi State baseball team over the years? Maybe one that went to the World Series.
Well, they've had quite a few. The team that won it was certainly a fun team. They've had other teams that did not win it. Many teams did not win it. I know everybody points to 1985 with Will Hart, Rafael Palmeiro, Jeff Brantley, Bobby Thigpen, and they had a chance there until their pitcher, Gene Morgan, got hurt pitching against Texas. That was certainly a fun team, but I'll throw out one that people think about a lot. Their 1981 team that went to Omaha, they went 1-2. They beat Michigan in the first round and played Arizona State, the number 1 team, in round 2 and got beat 5-4. And then lost a game they should have won against South Carolina. South Carolina was not in the SEC at that time, but that was a good team. I was basically, I guess I was going to JC at that time, and that team had Jay Porter on it, former Laurel Golden Tornado. He was the catcher and the DH. I think he split time with the other catcher, Terry Lowe. Terry would catch the first game and Jay would DH. Then they would flip-flop in the next game. But 1981 team was, I'd have to say, certainly one of my favorites, even though they went 1-2. And then the 1979 team at State actually beat Cal State Fullerton in the first game of the World Series. Augie Garrido, the great longtime college coach, and State beat them. And then after that, Cal State Fullerton won it the next 6 games. They just smoked everybody after that first round loss to Mississippi State. So I'm going to put the 1981 team up there.
I got you. Well, that's a good team. I remember watching that tournament because I think that's when ESPN or somebody, I remember televising that ball game, and I know the Porter family really well from Laurel. Because Jimmy, the oldest brother, played at Ole Miss, and Gerald played linebacker at State, and I think Jay tried football maybe for a couple years there, but then went strictly to baseball. But anyway, so those were
that 1981 World Series. You're right; it was the first one that ESPN televised. They didn't do all games, I don't think, but that was my first memory for watching Mississippi State and Arizona State play on ESPN. Yeah,
I remember that too. Well, let's look ahead just for a little bit. What do you think about the Bulldog football team this fall? Do you think the new coach, new quarterback, things will change a little bit? New offense, maybe?
Well, just from what I can gather, they can't be any worse on offense, I will say that. They were pretty bad last year, and from the looks of things and what you read and everything, I think they're going to be able to score some points, but they better, because I don't know if they're going to be able to stop anybody on defense. That's a major question up there right now. The quarterback, I think he's the Baylor transfer, Blake Shapen. I think Jeff Levy really likes him, and he can do a lot of things. Actually throw the ball deep downfield, which they have not been able to do the last couple of years. But they really like him. I guess the biggest negative, I think he's had injuries in the past, but I think State will score some points, but I think they're going to give up a whole bunch as well.
Shawn, this is Marshall, and I hate to do it, but we're about out of time. I want to thank you on behalf of Dale and I for taking time to be with us today and bringing all the information that you have, and it's considerable concerning this the baseball activities that's going on now. Thank you so much, Bubba. We appreciate that.
I appreciate it, and y'all take care. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you, sir. We're going to take a break to hear from one of our sponsors, and then Dale and I will be back with tonight's final segment right after the break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's final segment of the Brouhaha. Well, your boy Bubba there, he knows his stuff about that baseball, doesn't he?
He does.
Man,
He does.
He's another you.
Well, I don't know about that, but he's what you call it? What kind of book? I guess he tell you everything about Mississippi State, can he?
He can tell it.
All the way back to '79. That's a long time ago.
I was hardly born in '70.
No,
well,
man,
maybe
I
not.
was still in my 20s. I was shaking life.
Listen, I wrote change subjects a little bit. I printed out an article I saw on the internet, which is that's my deal there. I look at the internet, print out stuff, and there's an article that says Paul Feinbaum calls new legislation the most significant day in NCAA history. Do you know what he's talking about?
Well, I think they're going to have to the schools are going to have to start playing all their players, athletes.
I'm going to read this. After the NCAA reached a historic settlement on Thursday, college athletics will never be the same. The NCAA and the Power 5 conferences reached an unprecedented agreement that allows universities to pay their athletes directly. According to the National Public Radio, the proposed settlement has two parts. First, it would distribute $2.75 billion to athletes who competed before July 21, when the NCAA first allowed athletes to earn money from their NIL rights. Lastly, it would create a future revenue sharing model in which schools could each distribute around $20 million per year directly to athletes. How you like that, Dale?
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
No, not really.
It's different from the NIL. Is that going to do away with the NIL? Name, image, and likeness. I mean,
well,
they can still do that.
I don't think we've talked about it. I mean, but remember the guy I think he's a Georgia quarterback now. He's one of the Georgia quarterbacks. He's from California. He's suing the University of Florida for not honoring his NIL, and he's asking for $13 million from them.
Yeah. Well, if they made an agreement with him.
Well, I'm just thinking, how's that going to change it? Hey, I remember y'all said y'all owe me $1 million, well, let's pay up now, know.
And they should, in my book, if that's the case, if we know the fact.
I think you ought to pay them by the month. And if they quit, listen, if they quit on December the 1st, okay, and their team's not going to play in a bowl, cut them off. Yeah. They've actually quit their job. Because that's what they're doing,
I agree. So if they decide not to play to enhance their, I agree with you. And I wonder, I kind of hit this. I just wondered, Dale. I mean, they're still going to be able to do NIL. That's really not got anything to do with the universities themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
So now they can earn money from the universities, and it's going to be considerable money. Plus the NIL money. And will that do away with the consortiums? Probably not, because say for Ole Miss, for example, they've got the Grove collection, is that correct? And they're paying NIL monies out of that to players. they're going to still be able to do that. My understanding, the university will be paying them salaries, and then plus they can go out there and the collection can still pay them. That's going to be money everywhere.
Yeah, but it's not going to be money everywhere because, the rich are going to survive. The Texas A&Ms, maybe the Oklahomas, Penn States, Ohio States, they're going to flourish.
What about Ole Miss?
But I'm not sure if Ole Miss can keep up with them.
Well, I mean, let's just look at where Ole Miss is right now. Ole Miss is being projected, talking about being a top 5 team, one of the best rosters in the country. How'd they get that? NIL, with money.
But now people that donate to the NIL are not donating to the school. Now you're asking them to donate to both.
But hold on a minute.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.